Crime is the biggest concern for people living in Johannesburg. You can't blame them a day. And white people still enjoy a better quality of life than black people, and that's just a fact. Now, the Gauteng Quality of Life Survey, just released by the province, says Gauteng recently put in new processes to help its overburdened health system, but it's still undecided on whether it'll be scrapping Etolls or not. At the same time, you have communities that are protesting over drug and alcohol abuse, as well as a lack of services. So does David Makhura have what it takes to fix these issues? He's my guest for tonight. Welcome, Mr. Makhura. Thanks very much for your time. Let's start with the crime issue. It's refusing to go down significantly and meaningfully.
Yes, thank you very much for the quality of life survey that is conducted every 2 years in Gauteng province. Is a very important barometer to help us understand, as the provincial government and the municipalities in this province, and including national government departments, what the residents of our province think. It's the pulse of this province, to understand the mood, to understand perceptions and the changing views. So in the latest quality of life survey, the first important thing is I'm pleased that the indicator is that even under very difficult economic conditions, over the last 18 months, our economy has not been doing very well. Against a large number of people moving in Gauteng province continuously, the quality of life continues to improve. Of course, there are major concerns, the top 3 issues. So every 2 years, we track what are the top 3 concerns of the people of Gauteng. So this survey has been carried 5 times over the past decade. This year, the top 3 issues, as you correctly said, crime is the #1 concern facing the people of Gauteng. Unemployment and jobs is the second. And unemployment and jobs has always stayed, that set of issues has always stayed in all the 5 surveys in the top 3. Most of the time it has been #1. So the great concern about crime and drugs combined together being in the top 3 is that they have surpassed what we would ordinarily regard. For many people who come into this province, the main issue is about jobs, it's about the economic opportunities. We need a fresh start, and I have been talking to the National Minister of Police and the National Commissioner of Police that what they have been doing in Westbury about saturation of the community there with the new caliber of officers who are really ready and willing to take on crime and take on criminals is what we need in the whole province. Gauteng accounts for 50% of the crime stats.
But the National Commissioner of Police, when releasing the statistics earlier, did say that they actually do not have these people. So they won't be able to saturate Gauteng, even the hotspots, because he says that over the years, their numbers, the number of police that we have has not kept up with population growth, but also with the intensity of crime in certain areas.
Well, Voyo, I had a meeting with the minister and the national commissioner. So what they said to me is that they are going to be deploying in this province, and I'm hoping this will be done before the end of November. Significant deployment of police officers, firstly the leadership, at leadership level, not just one person called the provincial commissioner, and to the critical precincts, police precincts where crime is very high. So that's the commitment they have made to me. So crime is one issue.
We'll see if that happens. Yes. Let's go to the jobs. What's the plan?
Vuyo, you would know that there is a new drive in the country led by President Ramaphosa. This focus on raising the level of investment in the economy. The summit that he convened, the South African inaugural investment summit, where there was a commitment of 290 billion rands, is part of the drive. Just last week, we as the province, working together with the African Development Bank, convened another very big African investment forum, which again added into the South African economy another 92 billion rands as part of the effort. So investment is part of the economic recovery plan. What the survey says is that one area where people are very unhappy with the work of government is our plans on stimulating the economy, because the economy has been shedding jobs. So what we are doing is to really investment, particularly investment in infrastructure, will go a great deal in addressing the issues of jobs. The jobs. Infrastructure investment leads to increasing the number of jobs in the economy, but also making it easy for investors to come into our economy to do what they need to do to create employment.
Premier, what do you say? What do you say to a skeptic who says you will remember over the years COSATU complaining about jobless growth?
Yeah, I agree with that.
That happened for the longest time. There was growth, but it wasn't creating
and that's why
jobs. What do you say to a skeptic who says, we've heard Jacob Zuma saying that infrastructure, development is one of our apex priorities, right, as it was called. But where is it? Where is that infrastructure development gone?
Okay, Vuyo, can we go back to what the quality of life survey says rather than what you and I think? And that represents the sentiment amongst the residents of Gauteng. Firstly, on infrastructure. People in this province rate infrastructure development as the highest area of satisfaction. So which means these efforts are not just going unnoticed. So one key area of satisfaction is in infrastructure. We have invested in infrastructure that has created at least 95,000 jobs. So there's real evidence to show. If we were not investing in infrastructure, if we're not infrastructure from public transport to the rollout of the broadband and social infrastructure, the building of schools and clinics in the province and roads, if we were not doing that, then this economy could have bled much more. So I agree with the notion that we are not just chasing growth, we are chasing inclusive growth, and that's what the focus is now. It's not just any growth based on what COSATU has raised, that we don't just want our economy to grow. We want our economy to grow in a way that changes the structure of our economy.
And there's a plan in place.
And opens opportunities for small businesses, including township businesses, but also absorbs particularly young people, because the critical area where unemployment is really biting is with regard to the youth. There are all plans. And these plans are already impacting. The quality of life survey shows one key thing it highlights is that there's higher levels of satisfaction with the provincial government as work as compared to local government, and it has been improved. It shows that since 2014 there's been improvement in satisfaction level. That doesn't make us complacent. It gets us to even work much harder, because we can see that this is impacting positively.
Well, one area where the satisfaction levels have, if anything, actually gotten worse is, of course, the issue of the Etolls. And you seem to be stuck as the provincial government of the ANC in how to actually resolve this matter.
No, the ANC position is very clear, and the position of the provincial government is very clear. We are unstuck for you. Firstly, we're very clear that the Etolls have no future in the plans of this province as the provincial government and as the ANC. But we also would not like to mislead people. We know there's no municipality or province that can scrap the Etolls. It's only national government. So when we organized the march quite recently, we knew, that's why we went to the union buildings, that's why we handed the memorandum to the president. We knew that it is only national government that can deal with this matter. I can assure you, as early as Monday this week, we met with the ANC national leadership and put firmly on the table that we need alternatives to the current mechanism of trying to pay for the debt, because there's no question that we need to settle that debt. But we can't do it by trying to chase after people who, many of whom have many, many other pressures. And we have made a strong case that the Etolls are adding to the cost of living. If we want the quality of life to improve, the Etolls are working in the opposite direction.
But the question, Premier, is why are you only starting this now? Because a couple of weeks ago, the chairperson of the ANC's subcommittee, Enoch Gauteng, said there were no sufficient discussions within the ANC on this matter. The question then is whether people like you who serve in the top echelons of the ANC have actually been sleeping on the job then.
Well, I can assure you, Vuyo, that the issue of Etolls and the sentiment that many motorists are unhappy. There may be those, as from time to time research would point out, there may be those who say, no, they would want to pay. But many motorists, and I want to say to you, where are the people? The people who are unhappy would be the large number of motorists who live outside the economic core. If you look at this the ring roads of the Etolls, people who live in the townships, small business people who have to drive.
They are the ones who are going to be hurt the most.
They are being hurt the most.
Okay.
Professionals are hurt the most, who have to drive long distances, and workers who have to use their own cars are hurt the most.
Okay, Prem, let's take a call. Andre from Pretoria is on the line. Your question, comment, Andre?
Good evening, Vuyo and Premier Makhura. I would just like to add something to your discussion, or I would like to hear the Premier's comment on that. And my point is that we all know that there are limited resources. Natural resources are limited, such as rain, for instance. Now, we know that the quality of life is determined by the number of people who have to share the water of the province, the soil of the province, the food, the houses, the schools, the streets. Everything has to be shared by too many people, and that's my point. The cause of all the problems that Premier Makhura is discussing is overpopulation of Gauteng, and how are they going to address that?
How are you going to address the question of overpopulation, Premier?
Well, because, Vuyo, if we lived under apartheid, we would simply create influx control. And even under apartheid, influx control did not work. It collapsed. So we can't build the walls here to say people must not come into Gauteng. If we lived in America, even Donald Trump doesn't seem to be succeeding. So we need to have a very comprehensive approach. Yes, I can assure you that rapid in-migration, the movement of more and more people into this province, is putting a great deal of pressure on the infrastructure, housing delivery, education, healthcare, and in addition to the number of people who are looking for employment. That is a national, significantly national challenge, if not a problem. But it can't be tackled through simplistic formulae.
How should it be tackled?
And from where we sit, we need to make sure that both in the SADC region, these economies are viable. That's why we had an investment at the Africa Investment Conference here to ensure that there's investment not just in the South African economy, but also in South Africa. These regions, these rural regions, have to be viable. They have to be viable economic nodes. And there is no better way of trying. Sometimes people think that the problem is that there are too many foreigners who come into Gauteng. The big problem is that there are many South Africans from the countryside who come into Gauteng. How are you going to deal with that? You can't send them home.
Here's another call, Premier, from Blessing, who's based in Mfuleni. Blessing, your question, comment?
Good evening. I just want to ask the Premier about Mfuleni. Good evening, Comrade David.
Good evening,
your question,
Blessing.
Comment, Blessing?
It's a question because we have a problem with waste removal. And again, as residents of Vandabe, we are being overcharged for recent services. And what is the plan from the provincial office, and how are we going to be assisted? Because we don't get any assistance from the council.
Thanks. In that context, Premier, I'm going to add the West Rand, where you've just dispatched a few of your emissaries. Take them both.
Vuyo, just in the context of the quality of life survey, I mean, I am deeply concerned with municipalities that are showing decline in quality of service delivery and regression, those that are moving in reverse. I'm deeply concerned. Mfuleni is one of them that a blessing is referring to. In this quality of life survey report, you would see that on many measurements, water, electricity, refuse removal, the quality of sanitation, because of the financial crisis of the municipality, the situation is very bad, and that includes the West Rand, where the district is financially not viable, in addition to the fact that it would have invested, there are two municipalities that invested money into VBS, a matter that is being investigated by the provincial
What are you planning to do about both?
So I want
they are
to
not the only ones, of course.
I want to add the third one. You will see in this report, it says there's a metro as big as Tshwane is also moving in reverse. So Mfuleni, we have instituted a Section 139 intervention, which gives the provincial government the powers to intervene. We have been doing that. I can tell you, Vuyo, I've been there in Mfuleni as part of this intervention to fix some of the roads, to do refuse removal. We are sending another big team next week. We are bringing the National Defence Force team that's going to work with us to help fix some of the infrastructure. This waste removal issues and the spillage, particularly the spillage into the Vaal River. So we are going to be working with the National Defence Force. We are doing a great deal of work there every day in Mfuleni. In the West Rand, what is clear is that we are going to have to put that municipality, the district, under administration. Tshwane municipality, we will not have the same approach in these municipalities. It's moving in reverse in many areas. We are going to have an intervention and a support, because the point I was making yesterday when the report was released is that we can't watch any municipality that collapses. It means the quality of life in that area of Gauteng is going to decline, and people are going to move out of there and move into areas where there's better service delivery. So we have an intervention plan in all those areas. But I must also say, Vuyo, you know, often the mayors are not given credit when things are going right in their areas, and the councillors. So Mid-Vaal municipality, which is a small municipality in Gauteng, is doing extremely well. Lesedi municipality is doing extremely well. And Ekurhuleni Metro, they are doing very, very well. So on an occasion like this, when the residents are saying they are more satisfied with these municipalities, I think I give them credit, because half the time they are under attack.
Okay, Premier, we're going to stop it there. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Thank you very much for coming through, and best of luck.
Thank you.
And your executive. Well, is money trumping South Africa's commitment to human rights? We look at our indirect involvement in the Yemen and Saudi Arabia war. Don't go away.